It's live streaming, sorry, I should have said.
Right, good evening, everyone. Welcome to the planning meeting for today, the 10th of August. Agenda number 1, welcome to note this working party has no delegated authority and may only make recommendations to the full council. Urgent actions may be taken under delegated authority given to the clerk and the chair. Thank you. Item 2, apologies for absence, please, Vicky.
Councillor Liz Smith.
Thank you. Is there any other apologies? I think we're all here. Sorry for everything's been a rush. Right, okay, thank you. Item 3, declarations of pecuniary interest, request for dispensations. Any members? No? Okay, thank you. Item 4, minutes of the previous meeting held on the 26th of July. Okay. Page 229. If you can scroll up a bit, Vicky, please. Thank you. Page 230. This is received a response from R. Arman. Councillor Burns explained that it's been previously raised that this development control members agreed that although complaints were rare, complaints procedure via public health and housing was long and often often any dispute raised may not have been addressed before the building work has been completed. Members voted to reply to R. Armand. Is there any reply? Was that done, I should say, Vicky?
No, I haven't actually done that yet. That's reminded me I need to do that. Sorry, I apologise for that. I will do that.
Right, okay. Page 231.
Chair?
Yes, Councillor
Sorry,
Brown.
I was trying to get your attention on the previous thing. The problem with the conditions came up again at development control last week, where I had to raise the subject twice for major developments where there were just no planning conditions listed, primarily because the officers stated, well, that's okay, they were in the outline planning permission. But of course, in one of the examples, the outline permission was something like 7 years ago. So it's a very classic example of they need to do it for whether it's a small development that requires, building lawyers to turn away to the ones that, maybe we'll be talking about a bit later on with Stuart McAdams and Persimmon and all this sort of stuff. The conditions should be there.
Quite right.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, thank you for that. I've ordered my screen now, so I only have to go click on it once so that I can view everyone. Right, 232. No. 233. 234. No. 235. No. Right, thank you very much for that. Matters. I forgot something. I forgot that we need a vote of them acceptance of them minutes. Right, can I have a proposer and a seconder for them minutes, please? Councillor Dave Smith, and can I have a seconder, please? Councillor Jason Crooks, right, thank you. All those in favour, please show. Oh yes, Vicky, and I've signed all the others today, by the way. So they're all done.
Thank you.
Thank you for that. Item 5, which is matters arising from those. Oh, I've done that, just done that. And item 6, which is Stuart McAdam, Persimmon Homes, to discuss recently submitted planning applications for Northwest Haverhill. Good evening, Stuart.
Good evening. Thank you again for giving us time to come and speak to you. I think it's really worthwhile that we have this opportunity to come and address members and listen to what you say and hopefully address any questions you might have in these two current applications. So I've got with me tonight Scott Butcher. He's a development engineer. Scott has been heavily involved in formulating the revisions to the infrastructure application, has worked closely with Penny Mills and the internal external colleagues over a long period of time now. The application, if you remember, was submitted originally in April last year. We've been through a series of changes and that has resulted in the revised application, which is now in for consideration. I would highlight that Dan White, who addressed you some weeks ago, I think, to talk about some of the applications at Haverhill, is no longer working with Persimmon. So I will be picking up the pieces on this one now. So Scott probably knows an awful lot more about the application than I do, and I'll let him talk you through the key changes that we've made to it. We didn't want to bombard you with a whole lot of plans and information tonight. We want to comment basically and highlight the key points and the key changes that relate into both these schemes. So the design access statement you'll have seen by now. If anyone wants any copies of the design access statement or paper copies of any of the plans, please get in touch with me, and I'm only too happy to send them out to you in the post if a hard copy is preferable to you. So turning to the infrastructure application, as I say, it was submitted in April 2020, and the revisions have just gone in the last few weeks. It's out to consultation, and basically it follows the principles established in the Haverhill master plan, which accompanied the outline application, and also the design code, which was approved along with the first reserved matters. So in terms of the road hierarchy, it pretty much follows what was approved there, as does the open space. And there are some changes to the road layouts there, which Scott will come on to. So in effect, the infrastructure covers all the roads, all the open space, and the drainage as well, which accompanies the suite of drawings. So if I can hand over to Scott. Scott, if you are there, and you can maybe just lead us through the plans you've put on the presentation.
Can everyone hear me?
Yes, I can. Yep. I can hear you. Yes, Scott.
Okay,
yeah.
Cool. Yeah. Good evening, everyone. Yeah, I'm Scott. I'm the development engineer for Persimmon Homes, and I've taken over the Haverhill scheme. I started roughly just over a year ago, so I picked this one up. And there's been quite some significant changes to the infrastructure. To the infrastructure. So I've been having at one point I was having bi-weekly meetings with Penny Mills and Hen Abbott. Then we was going away if there was any issues with the alignment of the infrastructure or anything, we would go away and we would address it, so everything would be ready for the following week. So if I just take you to, so if we step back a year, this is roughly kind of what the infrastructure would have looked like. And I will now go to the current kind of proposal. So what I'll do is I've got them side by side, and I've kind of marked up the kind of like the more significant sort of changes just to run through kind of how we've got to the current proposal we have on the right. If you've got any questions as I'm going through, more than happy to answer them. If not, we'll kind of go through that at the end. So I'm hoping these annotations work. So the first bit, so looking at the left-hand side where I've marked it up, we had a series of staggered junctions. So the first one of them would have been kind of an extension from Ansuckling Road, sorry, and the other would have been by the local centre as you head south from the Relief Road. So after having quite a few discussions with Penny and Hen, they kind of wanted to steer away from that because they were concerned that it was just going to be used as a rat run. So essentially what we've then done is we've removed the stagger junctions and we've formed this kind of giant loop road. There was quite a lot of concern with how we was going to puncture through the hedge. Ultimately, to be able to deliver this, we had to go through the existing hedgerow. So we ended up coming up with 4 different options for how we could do that. So these should pop up now. So the first one, what we was trying to do was to try and keep the alignment as close to what it was originally. And then we were going to swoop down and try and come through the hedge perpendicularly, just to try and reduce the amount of hedge that would be coming out. So what I've got on here is, so when I've created the model, I've done the forward visibility for it. So where we originally changed from a 6.5 metre road, we've now gone down to a 5.5 metre, which was kind of requested by Hen, the highways engineer. So what I've shown on there is the forward visibility. So for the 3 different types of roads, so for treating it as a local distributor road, which is red, the blue is for a major access road, which is blue, and then green being a minor access road. So, no, sorry, the blue is for a major access, and then the green would be at a 20 mile/h speed limit. So to try and deliver the forward visibility, if we was going to treat it as a local distributor road, there'd be quite a significant amount of hedge that would have needed to come out. And then also with that, when running the tracking for a bus getting around there, because it's going to be a bus route, you physically couldn't get the bus around. So that then led us on to our next proposal, which was this one. So from a tracking point of view for getting a bus to go through there, it worked absolutely fine. Because we're going through the hedge perpendicularly, we reduced the amount of hedge that would be coming out. But the issue we then had was you start eating into the amount of public open space that we was going to be able to deliver, where based on the design code, that on the master plan, that's where the NEAP was going to be. So from there, that then evolved into our next one, which is kind of similar to it, where we then started to introduce this small pocket of, hoping you can see my mouse, this small pocket of open space down here, but ultimately it doesn't deliver kind of what we wanted to do in the first instance. So this is where we then ended up with our 4th option as such, where we come through the hedge. It's not perpendicular to it, but by having this long radius kind of coming through, we do create a pinch point, so we narrow it down so it's just single traffic. So we're kind of doing that to help as a speed calming measure, given it's going to be by the boat and the local centre. So we've done all the tracking for it. It's absolutely fine. We've ran the forward visibility, and based on where we've got to have the culverts to actually construct the road, everything's kind of contained in there. So we've reduced the amount of hedge that would need to come out to as minuscule as what we can. So that's kind of the first point as to how we've got to where we have with the alignment of the road. So the next one we'll look at is to do with the drainage side of things. So On the original proposal, there was an attenuation basin located just south of phase 4B. So after receiving some of the comments from the Suffolk Floods team, they weren't too happy about the fact that the drainage from phase 3B was going to have to go into a pipe system. It was going to cross an existing watercourse, and it was going to drain down through phase 4B to get to the basin, which is shown on the left-hand side of the screen. So what we've done from there is we've repositioned the pond. So all of the stormwater from phase 3B and some of the highway, it will drain into the attenuation basin, which is shown up here. It will then go into the watercourse. So 3B and part of the highway there is kind of self-sufficient. So we're not taking any pipes across the existing watercourse. The next one is the connect. So initially there was going to be the road from Halesbarn Road was going to connect into the infrastructure. After having meetings with Hen and also with Penny, it was then decided that there was a concern that that section of road could end up then making the infrastructure a bit of a rat run again. So they wanted to deter people from taking a shortcut coming onto the infrastructure to either get to the relief road or to the local centre. So what we've done is we've downgraded it to a cycleway, so connecting onto the existing one that's already there. So if people want to get to the local centre, it's encouraging them to then use the relief road that's going to be going in. The next one is to do with the basin within phase 5B. So when this was designed originally, it was designed to be deeper than 1.2 metres. I think from memory, it was probably exceeding 1.5 metres, the water depth of it, which is not in accordance with the Suffolk Floods, nor with Anglian Water or the guidance from Syria. So what I've done is we've gone back, we've reduced it. We have negotiated with Anglian Water and also with Suffolk Floods to having the water depth at 1.275 metres. So from the bottom of the basin, you have 600 mil of water. You'll have a wet bench. So if someone was to fall in, they've got that first kind of platform that they can then go onto. And then you'd have an additional 175 mil of water, where you've then got the bank, and then they can get up to the maintenance strip. So the issue with doing that is resulted in that it's eaten up quite a significant amount of land to accommodate the same amount of water. So that's why our phase 5B has shrunk quite a bit on this southern section. We'll then shift up to by the POS and NEEP area. So originally we had kind of an informal footpath that would come off of the boat to then connect onto the southern arm of the relief road, where there was going to then be a toucan to allow people to cross over, head north, and then there's another toucan which would take them, I believe it was called a county wildlife area. So from there was going to be a new walkway where people could head around this kind of open space and then get onto the existing back onto the existing bridleway route again. We were kind of steered from the public right-of-way team is that they didn't want to encourage people to cross the relief road on the bridleway. They then wanted to shift people to head on across the southern arm of the relief road and head north. So what we've done is, I'll see because everyone's faces are there. So what we've done is we've shifted it to the south of the hedge. Another reason that they wanted to relocate the footpath is because this is quite a sensitive hedge and they want to protect that because of how high the level difference is with the relief road being that bit higher than the existing ground. The earthworks would have then started to have an impact on the existing hedgerow. So what we've done is we've shifted it south, and then where there's going to be issues with the levels, we've kind of swept it out. So this is going to be a kind of like a mown grass footpath to steer people back onto the southern arm of the relief road to then get that crossing point. The next one where we've changed it, there was this informal footpath which was kind of requested as part of the design code to have this footway, cycleway going around the northern edge of the development within the infrastructure buffer. So with having it kind of how it was originally last year, that walkway is kind of slap bang in the middle of that infrastructure buffer, which kind of really then limits where you can have your landscaping and to kind of how well that buffer can actually work from screening off the relief road. So what we've done now is we've kind of hugged it right up against the edge of the development parcel. So then that way you can fully make use of that remaining 8 to kind of 11 meters of buffer to get some real substantial landscaping in there. And I think this is the final one I've got on here. This is to do with the school and the community facilities. So on the original proposal, just kind of west of the bridleway, there was proposed to have the junctions to create like a drop-off point at the school, but they're trying to kind of like deter people, not encourage or promote people to use the cars to drop people off at the school. They want to encourage everyone to walk or use the cycleways. So after having a meeting with the school, they then asked us to move the junctions over to this northern side. So once you've come round on this new alignment of the infrastructure, you've got your speed table in here where it narrows down to single traffic, so it'll be a traffic calming measure. You come round and there'll be the entrances so that the buses can drop kids off, or if they're picking them up for school trips, there's an area where they can pull in. And also with the way that we've kind of laid out the infrastructure, we've brought the cycleway to the inner loop, so everyone's able, well, kids and stuff, they're able to navigate round. They've got crossing points, so we've got a raised table on this southern edge. We're going to have a raised table so people can cross over to get to the POS. They can come through and then access the school that way. So those really is kind of like the more significant sort of changes that has been made to the application over the past year. And this is kind of just the overall zoomed in plan again. So now I'll kind of hand you back over to Stuart. Have you got a question, John? Sorry.
Yeah, if I may, Chair. Several questions, and Stuart will know this. You mentioned bus routes. As far as we're concerned, we have had nothing from County Council or anybody else to say there are actually going to be any bus routes. I know Stuart has alluded to it. I was speaking to Stagecoach before COVID. Unfortunately, the guy I was speaking to has subsequently left. And what we don't want is an extension of the Cambridge service in this bus route. We want local bus routes. County Council, in their great wisdom, obviously back in the outline days, way before Persimmon were involved, said, oh yeah, we're going to have lovely bus routes, we're going to have lovely bus stops, lovely automated bus indicated systems, but they're not putting their money where their mouth is at the moment in terms of actually organising any bus routes. So where you talk about the school, great idea for people to walk there, but the catchment area for this school is going to be anything, 5-10 mile away potentially, and people are going to come with cars. You've got to remember where the location of this is as well. You may get some people locally, obviously from the Haverhill Road and that thing walking through, but a lot of people will drive. We see it on all the other schools, primarily because kids can't get into schools necessarily near to where they will walk from. So just bear that in mind. I suppose the one thing again is, we went through a long period of doing the master plan for this site and the outline permission. And here we are getting down to reserved matters and things are changing once again. It's not your fault. It's basically officers from county and West Suffolk not necessarily talking to people who actually live here. The SUDs. I understand what you're saying about the SUDs. We recently had a lot of flooding in Haverhill because the SUDs overflowed in Haverhill. We need to make sure that these are sufficient to cover. Now, I appreciate it's on top of a hill, so hopefully, water will run down the hill. But what we don't want is those SUDs overflowing into places like Howe Road and that estate, the Arundine estate, which is on the south there, and or into so please make sure that they are suitable. You know, the ones that we had in town, we were told, oh yeah, they're perfectly capable of supporting that, but of course they didn't when it actually came down to it. You mentioned the bridle way. Best way in the world, there's not a lot of horse riders around, but you also mentioned toucans. And I was a bit surprised where we were talking about pedestrians not being able to walk along the bridle way, which I think was what you were suggesting. Because somebody from public right of way who doesn't live anywhere near the area, again, is making some sort of decision. I would have actually said that's what bridle ways are for people to actually walk along. And certainly there's no legal stoppage of that either. So I would actually be saying, well, if you've got a bridle way, don't just dedicate it to a horse that might come along once every 6 months. It's actually let people walk along it. You mentioned obviously the schools where you said, and obviously we've got the local centre next to it on the southeast of it or east of it. Both of which will attract cars, obviously, as I mentioned. Two things I know you haven't got to yet, and you may not be getting to it, is you showing a link to Howe Road at the bottom, southeast there, and also a link to Anne Suckling Road. I'm assuming they are only going to be bus routes. They are not going to be for general traffic. Can you confirm that?
So the proposed that general traffic will be able to will be using the infrastructure road, but the way that it's been designed, the way that it has, is if you will notice, if I just go back.
Okay, can I interrupt you there?
Sorry.
That was never the idea in the master plan and outlines that there were any link roads between those, and we've been assured many, many times that would never be the case. There are only going to be bus routes with rising bollards. And I don't know who said to you that that's going to happen. If that's Hen Abbott, then she's wrong.
Correct me if I'm wrong, Scott, but I think is Howe Road not supposed to be a bus gate?
Yeah, Howe Road's meant the bus gate. So that there's no connection from Howe Road for any general public to drive.
No, okay, that's fine. So same with Anne Suckling Road.
That's purely a bus gate. To my understanding, we've not been told. I've not been made aware that that's purely for buses.
Yeah, no, that's always that. Most definitely. That's why. I mean, that's where originally the Relief Road was going to come out on Anne Suckling Road, and that's why it was moved further north. So there was no link through to there.
Yeah, John, I've discussed this with Penny, and she's of the mind that there is not a bus gate at Anne Suckling Road, and it's not shown in the design code, the approved design code. So the only bus gate is from Howe Road. But I think, Scott, I'm right in saying as well that there are traffic calming measures in Anne Suckling Road, isn't there?
Yeah,
to restrict speeds and things like that along there as well.
Yeah, so what we were looking to introduce was to have a raised table, and then likewise there's another raised table along here. This is the original proposal, so there would have been an access into the local centre from the south. So what we've done to deter people from accessing the local centre from this side is it's changed. We've removed any access from the southern side. This would just be to access the parcel. So any access into the local centre will be on the north. So if anyone did want to come through from the south, they've got to drive through the whole infrastructure to then get there. We've done it to try and deter them from doing that.
We've always been assured, even going back to the outline permission, which I've actually still got a audio recording of, that was always going to be either rising bollards or bus gate or something. The whole purpose of having that road coming off the Relief Road at the top was purely that traffic would come in that way only.
It's certainly some, John, we'll pick up with.
Yeah, please, because we can't start changing.
I know you've mentioned this before, so we need to. I know that Scott's been guided by what Highways and Penny have said, so we will check on that one just to make sure everything's correct.
Yeah, that's most definitely not a bus is fine, but not general traffic. because they will just not go to the north. If they live on the south side, they're just not going to go around the relief road to get into the site.
Okay,
Thank you.
we note your point. We'll certainly make
Yeah. All right.
comment on that. Okay,
Okay,
thank you.
Is there anyone else? Councillor Crooks and then Councillor Day-Smith.
Yeah, I've got a different view to Councillor Burns. I personally think that Howe Road should be open to all traffic. I personally think Anne Suckling Road should be open to all traffic. I also think the link by Phase 5B should be a road connected to Hales Barn Road. So the whole estate is connected to Haverhill, is connected to our estates, instead of trying to make a leper estate where residents have to drive miles within their own town to get to the new houses. The whole estate should be connected to our existing estates. So it would absolutely be ridiculous if Anne Suckling became a bus gateway and Howe Road a bus gateway. So my view is completely opposite to John, but that is my view. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Councillor Day-Smith. Speak. Can you speak, Dave, please? Because you're unmuted.
Oh, I'm muting that. Yeah, sorry, it took a while.
That's
I
it.
what's happened there. It's frozen for a little while. Sorry.
Fine. That's fine.
Yeah, I can understand where Jason's coming from. We want it to be integrated in the town, but there is an issue with the amount of traffic that's going to be generated on this this development, and the traffic coming out of Anne Suckling is going to be completely defeat the object of having the relief road. It's not designed to have the amount of traffic which I can see coming out of that junction onto Haverhill Road. Yeah, I don't know. Can it be made sort of one-way system or something? Perhaps from where the new development will start at the end of Suckling Road, so you can come in from that direction, but and then traffic coming from the existing housing can turn right to come out there, but from the new development onwards, make it just a one-way system so it goes around to the relief road. I just trying to think of some way of alleviating the amount of traffic that we can see coming out of that junction at Haverhill Road. And the other issue, you're talking about removing a lot of hedgerows there. I wouldn't like to see any hedgerows being removed. So if you can be shifted southwards from the line you were talking about, that would be a much better prospect, I think. Thank you.
Can I just sort of offer a couple of points on that, yep. Councillor Smith, just on the first point, you know, we hear what local people like yourselves are saying about this. So we've been guided, Scott, more than me, has been guided by highways and you know, the council officers, but we hear what you say, and we'll certainly take these points back to them. I'm sure that when you make your comments on the application, then we're duty bound to raise them with us as well, and they'll have to address them in the way that they see fit. But we hear what you as locals are saying about things. Removal of hedgerows, you mentioned there as well. Scott, in drawing up this proposal, has done the best job he possibly can to restrict the hedgerows removal. So that's as a result of the 4 options that he presented earlier. And this is the only way that we can minimise the amount of hedgerows that have to come out, because the ring road, as you can see there, has to cross the hedge at some point, and we have tried our best to minimise that. So I don't know quite what else we could do, Scott. I think you've explored all avenues in terms of the hedgerow.
Yeah, to get it to work, to be able to create that the loop road, you have to. It's a constant hedge right from north to south. So you do have to cross it at 2 points. And like I say, I know how kind of sensitive the hedge is. So I've tried my best to minimise it to as little as possible.
Thank you. Councillor Crooks.
question for the planners. Legally, you need more than one entrance into the estate, don't you? Because if Councillor Burns' proposal comes forward, you've only got one in and one out. That wouldn't work at all, would it? Thank you, Chair.
Do you want to come back on that, Councillor Burns?
No, there's loads of examples. Even phase 1A only has one entrance into it.
Okay. Can I say something now? I think it's going to be a complete disaster. It's okay for the people in Ipswich saying, you know, because they like people to use their bikes, and which is great, and walk, which is fantastic. But that's just not the case. I'll give you an example in Chalkston Way, which is not far from there. We've got two schools. We've got one school that was built in the early 70s, which is Samuel Ward, and that's got a drop-off point, which works absolutely brilliantly. And then we got a new school called Westfield, where there was no drop-off point allowed at all. The problem is you've got cars, where Westfield is, you've got cars parking all over the estate, is creating absolute havoc around that estate, with people parking in front of garages and people can't get their cars out to go to work. And yet you've moved further up to the estate towards Samuel Ward, and there's none of that. There's none of that at all with a drop-off point. So it's complete disaster that they've done away with this drop-off. It's absolutely crazy because of the point that they think that people are going to walk there. Another point on that as well. People have not just got one child, they've got 2 or 3 children, and 2 or 3 children go to different schools. They go to an upper school and a primary school. And that's the reason why they use cars. Plus they work, loads of mothers work now. So obviously there's no one else to look after them. There's not a person at home or a person at home that can walk from one school to another school. They have to drive because they have to drop them off. So once they've dropped them off, they can go to work themselves. So, you know, they've got to live in the real world, these people that in Ipswich. It's absolutely crazy not having a drop-off point. Really is.
Yeah,
No,
as you can
tell them that.
Yeah, as you can see from our plan, the original proposals did include it, and we have been steered away from that. So, I mean, our first thoughts were that there should be a drop-off point there, but you know, other people are taking a different view. I mean, Scott, I think we'd be happy if that was a view, we could incorporate a drop-off point there anyway.
I mean, where we've moved the junctions north, like I say, they wanted to have a point in there where it could be used for a bus to drop off. I mean, like I said, they have tried to steer away from having a car drop-off point, but it could be a case that could be utilised. And
Yeah.
Likewise, we've got an access for the community facilities. How this area is going to work together, I'm not too sure. But there's likely going to be parking for the community facilities, so that could potentially get utilised as a drop-off point to then walk through to the school.
And there is also the local centre will have parking in there as well. So there is potential for some parents to park there, drop the kids off, maybe pop in to get a newspaper or milk or something. So there will be something there, albeit they'll have to cross over to the school itself. But because we're opening that up and there's not a link going through there, there's better pedestrian connectivity, I suppose, through that area and not a road to contend with.
Thank you, Stuart. Thank you, Scott. But as I say, it's so important because all the people in phase 1A and 3A and all the other phases are going to get, otherwise, if we don't have a drop-off point, it's going to create havoc in them areas. You know, it might even touch Haverhill Road, where people will park their cars to drop their, you know, so they can walk their children to school and then run back to their cars. It's all you got to tell them is go to Westfield School and then go to Samuel Ward. You know, it's completely different at Samuel Ward compared with Westfield. Thank you for that. Councillor Burns?
Yeah, just going to talk about the school, and I was reading the master plan. It's not in there. I think it's in the outline. I can't remember how big this school is in terms of pupils. It is only a primary school. It's not a secondary school. Obviously, all the secondary school pupils have to go somewhere. There is Samuel Ward and Castle Manor, but neither of which are capable of taking the pupils from this area. Sorry, at the moment, there are plans to expand.
There are plans to expand.
There are plans to expand, but
they're being put forward soon as well.
Yeah, I know, but they're not. They have to take account of the fact these houses are being built pretty quickly. And with schools and Suffolk County Council, it'll be ages before they actually put the spade in ground. Obviously, they're pushing very hard on it. I know, but I know from previous schools like Westfield and all how long it does take to do things. This is not the government doing it like they did with the science block. This is actually Suffolk County Council. So I don't know how big this school is. The two that are going on Great Willsey, they are talking up to 1,000 pupils per school. So when you start talking about how to get to the school, just remember, as Councillor Hanlon says, some of them might be 2 or 3, children families, but a lot of them are going to be single ones. So there has to be a sustainable method of getting to that school. And equally the local centre, although hopefully the local centre won't end up like most of our other local centres, just abandoned and left to get on with themselves and not providing anything for the locals. In terms of the original master plan, I would agree, yes, there was a link showing to Anne Suckling Road, but it was never envisaged that the development would necessarily what's the word I'm looking for? Become a method of getting to the Relief Road is what I'm looking for, because originally the Anne Suckling Way and Road and the linear park and everything was going to be quite a minor connection. Now it's been made into quite a major connection. And I appreciate what Councillor Crooks is saying. I know he would like to maybe drive around these things, and I understand that. But this is not what the agreed master plan, and not what the agreed outline permission said. It's a bit like when, dare I say it, when Persimmon knocked down the original hedge for phase 1, it was never designed that there was going to be a road coming through that from the side of Haverhill Road. It was going to actually come through that hedge line like this one is proposed here. So I do worry, and it's a shame that we haven't got the local members here tonight. I don't think they were necessarily aware of this. And equally, we have no residents here who are the ones who have been looking into this. So I hope that they're told very short, what is planned for this. I hope it goes up on the website, Stuart, wherever you are.
Yes, I'm sorry, I'm just trying to find out some information that might help.
So I mean, it's obviously, it's early stages, but we certainly got to remember that school is it's going to be quite a big catchment area. And if it is 1,000 pupils, like the two, each of the ones on the Great Willsey is supposed to be 1,000 each. Primary schools, I'm talking about.
Yeah, and in the 106, which I'm just looking at, it says a primary school to be a minimum of 1.5 form entry. So it's a minimum of 1.5 form.
That's a primary school.
That doesn't really help, does it? Because it doesn't give us the numbers.
No.
Yeah, it just says a minimum of that size. So we hear what you're saying.
Okay, well, I'll shut up.
Early stages, and I think that once the West Suffolk Council have the Town Council's comments, then there's certain things that have been raised in the discussion there that can be taken further, and we can raise them with the powers to be as well, and see where we go with it.
Can I just ask about the suds? The one south-west appears obvious because to me the road slopes that. Oh, sorry, the land slopes southward. The one that's on phase 3B, logically to me, does the land slope away towards that suds?
Yeah, so
of sufficient slope.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
There's definitely a slope going across south. I've got all the contours. It's all been placed, so it's all at the low point. So I don't know.
So what I want to start is what's to stop the water flowing south instead of flowing northwest?
So the fall from north to south.
If you understand what I mean.
Yeah, I get where you're coming from. I'm trying to think how I can explain it. The slope from north to south isn't that steep. It's the slope from east to west, which is there's a great gradient on that.
Okay.
So it's fairly sort of flat around here, and it does steepen up, and it does fall down towards the basin.
Okay.
It has been designed in that way.
Yeah, not being a flood engineer, I presume that it's not just the size of the suds that's calculated, but also the actual flow of water.
Yeah, so all of that's designed. So you've got a small section of highway, I believe from here, going through. That will go into the basin, and then you've got all the internal stuff from the parcel. But the basin's designed for a 1 in 100 year storm, and it's based on the impermeable area that you've got there. They allow, so you've got your 1 in 100, you had 40% climate change, and they allow for 10% creep on there as well. So with all of that, that water depth is designed to be a maximum of 1.2 meters, and that's for the worst case storm. You've then got another 300 mil of room before it then gets to the maintenance strip, which obviously as the basin comes up, you've got slopes coming out, which gives you, if for some reason it did exceed that, you've still got a considerable amount of storage in there before it would start overspilling.
Okay, the other final question, if I may, Chair, is what are those two, what I would call racetrack ovals? Northeast, northwest, north, just above phase 3B suds, what are they?
Can you see my maps?
Yeah. What are they?
So they're exactly the same thing, but they're for the relief roads. They purely take drainage from the relief road.
Okay. All right, thanks for that.
Just one thing you did touch on where I'm fully aware of the issue from phase 1. That was prior to me kind of starting, which I learned about once I did start. I'm conscious that there is some real, everyone's a bit cautious about the hedges and in case something gets taken out. With the relief road where there were sections taken out, I physically went out myself with a setting out engineer and hammered stakes into the ground and spray painted, color coded everything up, and went and met with the arboricultural team that was going to be taking them out and instructed exactly what needed to be taken out, showed them where all the stakes was, so there was no issue and there was no confusion as to what needed to come out. So that'll be the same case with this. Like once everything's kind of agreed and everyone's on board with what we're proposing to do, that this, like I say, I'm trying to keep the hedge removal to as small as I can. And anything that does come out, I will go out with a setting out engineer and I will get it all spray painted up so there's no confusion as to what comes out.
Okay.
Thank you for that, Scott.
Thanks, Scott.
Right. Is there any more questions on this? No? Vicky, you've got all that written down, have you?
Sorry, can I just ask a question, Chair? Just a question on the suds. I mean, yeah. Are they going to be planted? Like a lot of them around this way, you've got lots of trees growing out of the suds, and that seems to reduce the actual volume of the sud itself. So
generally speaking, we won't put trees within the actual storage part of it, whether it's on the embankment tying back into the existing ground levels. Sometimes trees get planted on there, but generally it's like wildflower or wet like grassing that will go in there. They'll have. I'm not a landscape architect, so I couldn't tell you exactly the things that will go in, but from all of the designs that I've seen, there's not been any trees kind of proposed to get planted within the basins.
No, but around the outside, we'd want to plant something, as Scott says, to increase biodiversity within the site, and that's things we can explore in the landscape drawings as well. There's a full suite of landscape drawings I think, available on the website as well, aren't there, Scott? We've submitted now. So they're available, and if you have time to have a look at them, and if there are any further comments, please get in touch with myself, and we can explore further planting or any other issue that you might want to raise once you've had a chance to read and digest. It's quite a long document. There's quite a lot of plans there, but we're happy to listen to your comments and see what we can do to help.
Yeah, I think my concern is these once in 100 years floods are getting a bit more frequent than that recently. So yeah, I think these need to be future proofed.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Right.
Do we want to go on to the open space if you've finished with the infrastructure, Scott?
Oh, okay. I didn't know there was more.
Yeah, no, there's more. You've got me to
Right.
contend with now.
Sorry, let me skip through this.
Mine's not quite so technical, Scott. You're sharing your screen, so if you can just lead through. It's not as technical as Scott's was, but the very nature of Scott's dictated that it had to be quite detailed. But mine is simply in terms of the sports pitches application. If you remember, we submitted this as part of the overall infrastructure when we submitted the application last year, and members of the town council and others were concerned about the open space provision coming forward in a timely manner. So we've split this out to ensure that this can be delivered at an early stage. The trigger for it is on 80% occupation, I think, of phases 1 and 2. So the slide that you can see in front of you there shows the location within the overall scheme, and I've highlighted phase 2B there, and you can see the proximity of the sports pitches application there to phase 2B. Scott, if you could just drop down to the next one. This is just a reference to the approved master plan to show the green areas throughout the site. This was approved as part of the outline permission, and you can see that there's quite an extensive area of green space within the development. The play provisions are spread throughout that and are also incorporated into the landscape plans for the infrastructure application, but this one centres on the area where you can see it's highlighted between phases 1 and 2 there as a sports area. So that's from the approved master plan. So yes, Scott, if you could just bring up the next one. And again, the reference to the open space strategy is an extract from the approved design code, and the plan on the right again shows the football pitches which were approved with the design code that accompanied the reserved matters application. Next one, thank you. In terms of the detailed proposals for the sports pitches themselves, it's more than just sports pitches, obviously, and this is a plan which shows you what will be going in there into that area. 2 pitches. Originally, we thought it was going to be an informal sports kickabout area where kids would go and put their bags down or their coats and just have a kickabout, but officers of the council want something more formal than that. So you can see we've highlighted 2 football pitches on there of different sizes. We've also incorporated the purple circle there shows where there'll be a changing facility. So we're providing that on site as well, so people can turn up and change before they go out and play football. People will be able to hire these pitches, I assume. And there's a car parking facility there as well to avoid parking on the key road going into service the development. So there's provision there for a number of cars to park, including disabled spaces. And next to that, to the north of the car park, you can see the actual play provision here. And that is a NEEP, a neighbourhood area of play. And the illustrations down the left-hand side of that slide show the type of facilities which are specified in the master plan and which we're proposing to put on the site there. The red circles there, Councillor Mason's not in the meeting tonight, but these are areas where we're proposing to locate benches. And throughout the whole of the development, the wider infrastructure development, we propose to put benches at strategic spots so that people walking or cycling around the site or mothers out with toddlers and prams will be able to go for a walk and sit down and take in the scenery. Hopefully it's a nice day. and just enjoy their walk. So that's what we're proposing. Scott, I can't remember whether I've got another slide or not. No, that's it on the sports and pitches provision. So if there's any questions specifically on that, I'd like to take them now before I go on to the general update.
Councillor Burns? You're muted. You're muted.
I did press the button. Not enough provision for benches, not enough play equipment from people who've actually bought houses from Persimmon, which I would tend to agree with. You know, it's a young person's play park. You need more than one bench by that play park. I'm not certain what the benefit, other than it's on a footpath, of having those other benches. I would have said bring them forward towards the football pitches if that's going to be the case. I'm a bit concerned about the so-called changing room, which I'm not even certain where on this plan it's actually going to be going.
It's the Mauve Ring. The Mauve Ring.
Mauve Ring.
Yeah, the Mauve Ring.
I mean, it's basically a 40-foot container, as far as I can tell, which we've got one down at Puddlebrook on the south of the thing. And Councillor Lucarini and myself went down there the other day, and they've just been totally, well, they're vandalised with graffiti and God knows what else on them. Is that all we can do for those football pitches, is provide a 40-foot container? And I don't know who at West Suffolk has been deciding on this, because again, and once again, they haven't discussed it with anybody locally.
Yeah, the container, we weren't actually planning to provide a container, so it came as a bit of a surprise that we had to provide change of facilities, John. It was, as I said earlier, it was supposed to be informal play provision, which wouldn't actually require a change in facility, but we have put it in there. But again, this is early stages just now, so the officer hasn't provided any feedback on this application proposal at all yet, so we're still in discussion with them. I think Penny's on leave just now,
Yeah.
and we'll pick that up with her when she comes back. Take on board your points about vandalism. Is it that you would like to see something a bit more permanent or dressed up a bit better? Is that or not to have that facility?
Well, you need some. If we, I don't know what these pitches are going to be used for. Are they going to be used by a, registered football team, perhaps, in the future? In which case, you definitely need changing, because you need, what do you call it? The visitors need somewhere to change at the very least. And this is where I'm a little bit confused about what the purpose of this is. Is we're providing this, but we don't actually have a use for it, if you know what I mean. I mean, I'm more than happy to have the space, but I'm not certain who's going to be using it. West Suffolk presumably will be managing it. I'm assuming it won't be under the management plan for the whole estate. I don't know. I mean, has that discussion been had?
We, under the current proposals, have a management company which are going to look after the entire open space within Haverhill. But there is an option within the 106 to allow the council to manage and maintain these areas as well. So again, that's something that's up for discussion with Penny Mills as we get into the nuts and bolts of the proposal. So there is an option there, as we're currently proposing to do it in Manco, but that might change. To be honest, I'm not quite clear who's going to use the pitches myself, but it has been put forward to us that we need to provide, compliant football pitches within that particular area, and that's what we have provided.
Good. Councillor Smith. John, have you finished?
Yeah, no. What I was going to only say is I don't know who it is who's advising you with what football pitches. Arguably, you could argue they're very close to Relief Road. I know there's a bit of a gap there. But equally, the play park seems to be suffering because there's two football pitches there. That's my personal view. We suffer a great deal from lack of decent play parks in Haverhill about 25 years ago plus. A load of them were removed from the estates. I'm sure Pat and others who were around there at the time remember that.
Yeah.
In the sense of we have to have them on the recreation ground or whatever it might be. And youngsters just lost out. And you've got, as we've said earlier on, it's not only the 1,150 houses here that eventually is going to be built. You're going to have all the, the Howe Road, the Boyton, all those sort of things. Howe Road have got the skate park right at the bottom south of it. But things like the Boyton estate just south of this has nothing as far as I know. All the way down as far as I remember. So yeah, I'm just interested why there's the emphasis on football pitches, as if there is there a...
I think, John, there's a number of things to just say here, that it's not the only play provision within the site, and the plan that came up earlier demonstrates a number of open space areas within the site, all of which are served by differing offers to the people who live here. So there will be another leap down towards the south of the site as well. There'll be another NEAP in the public open space area to the south of the roundabout. There's pitches, there's allotments, there's a number of facilities in here. There's community orchards as well, as part of the proposal. So it's to get that fine balance, and the design code highlights this as a NEAP. Now, a NEAP generally has, I think, 8 pieces of equipment, which is what's provided here. But I take on board what you're saying. If there's more grassed area here, why couldn't more space be given over to youngsters just running about, for example, and enjoying the area as much as people will enjoy a football pitch? So, there is going to be a plan as we move through the site to provide additional facilities.
Okay. I don't want to labour the point. I'm conscious of time. Very quickly, the original master plan, of course, only showed 1 football pitch.
It did, but the design code showed 2.
I know, but
so there's an immediate conflict there.
Exactly.
So,
Exactly. Yeah. Okay.
But
thank you.
We'd like to do what the local people want. To be honest, if they think there's a need for differing facilities, we're quite happy to look at that in the overall scheme of things. You picked up on the benches. It's not a problem to add more benches in there. They're just 3 that are strategically located. We can move them about. We can put more in as we see fit. And the footpath link that you mentioned earlier as well links with a sort of circular way that goes right round the site and links into the infrastructure proposal. You can just see at the top of that plan, which again takes you along the northern boundary of the infrastructure application. So it's to encourage walking, cycling around this site as well.
Councillor Dave Smith?
Yeah, it just seemed to be an element of we're being dictated to what we need rather than what we want from afar. But anyway, but you did more or less just cover the point I was going to raise, Stuart, about leaps and neeps and how many of each there were around the site, because I did. You skipped through the pictures quite quickly earlier, and I wasn't sure. Can you?
Sorry, can we go back?
There's plenty around the site, is there? Because it wasn't.
Yeah, if we maybe go back to, they're not highlighted in that one. You can see the sports area there, but yeah, this one here that you can see before, you've got the sports area there. The next one is the roundabout, the central roundabout, yeah, just where the cursor is now. That is going to be a NEAP in there, I think, Scott, is that right? Correct? And then further down, yeah, just where your cursor is, well done, got graphics as well. That's going to be where a further leap is located as well.
Okay, so are these green areas going to be there compared with the plans you were showing us earlier with the roads going around the estate there? It wasn't obvious that those green areas were going to be remaining, but they're definitely going to be there because the roads are completely different design to what you've got on that original master plan, or approved master plan.
I forgot that there.
So yeah, we've got the NEAP kind of located up here, and then we've got the LEAP located at the bottom as well. Are people going to sort of walk from phase 4A down to that one you're highlighting there to go and play on the streets? I mean, it seems that you need more smaller ones around the development, rather than concentrating them all in 2 or 3 areas. So previously, so based on the old one, we had an attenuation basin there. Where that's now moved up to 3B, you've then gained that open space within this area. So there is scope where we can, instead of having everything within 3 kind of like key areas, there's no reason why you couldn't split it up to kind of spread it around the development.
Okay. And final point, I suppose the design of the benches and the play equipment, etc. Is that going to be open to consultation? Because obviously we'd like something that's a bit more environmentally friendly than a lump of steel or something like that.
Yeah, that's something by all means you can make comment on that. It's all part of the landscape proposals, so it's all contained within the pack as well. And more we're finding that things are more environmentally friendly. There's construction out of timber and the like to encourage people to walk across the stepping stones, youngsters to do that. I don't know if you can bring up the illustration that's in there, Scott, in slide 11. Yeah, I think these are stepping logs that you can see there, and mostly these units are, apart from the slide element and these plastic elements of it, it's largely timber and ropes for a lot of the construction of these things as well, which is probably slightly better in terms of minimizing harm in the environment and using greener materials. But yes, these are up for discussion, and these are merely examples of what we can provide within these play areas.
Okay, thank you.
Right, yeah, just on the sports area, obviously the other football pitch is not a full-size football pitch, I presume.
No.
Do we really need that? Because if you're saying about West Suffolk maintaining, we've got a football pitch on the Chalkston estate by the community centre there, and to be honest, that's hardly used. Also, the maintenance by West Suffolk is absolutely abysmal. Where these centre the goals were, they've already been moved once, but there's sort of indentations, you know, like big dips where they don't fill them in because they've been churned up when they were used years ago. So the maintenance by West Suffolk is just a pipe dream, to be honest. And I feel that this particular football pitch won't be used because we've got so many teams in Haverhill, so many areas where teams play, that people travel, you know, that they won't travel very far from there to the Hamlet Croft area, you know, to play football there, because that's where they've got loads of teams there, lots and lots of teams. So yeah. I feel that is going to be a complete waste of time, having a football field there. If they have to have one, then just one big one. The other football pitch, I feel that there should be something like a fitness thing, fitness facilities, sort of like they've got on Mottsfield, them sort of things where because there'd be elder children, be, you know, the teenagers be playing football on there, if that, hopefully they do, you know, they could use the fitness things there, as well as obviously younger children using the other. So I think there should be fitness apparatus, that's the word I'm looking for. Yeah. In that particular area, instead of that small football pitch, really.
Okay, I mean, I think it's really helpful to get feedback from members of the council and yourself, Councillor Hanlon. Fitness equipment is something we have incorporated in a number of schemes that we're working on in Suffolk. That seems to be something that's favourable because it serves not only teenagers but right up to adults, and they can go out for walks and keep fit as they go around the site. So yes, hear what you're saying, and we're happy to have that discussion with the officers in discussion and see if we want to provide something that is of benefit to the local residents, and it's good to hear your views on this, and we'll take them on board and have that discussion.
Thank you for that. Thank you very much. Okay, Right, anyone? Is there anybody else want to speak?
Just quick-
Councillor.
Yeah, I was just going to say basketball is very basketball courts that we've got in Haverhill are very popular, so that would work well. But I wouldn't want to speak for the youngsters. I don't know what they want, but basketball is popular.
Yeah. Are there any community groups or youngsters groups or teenage groups that we could speak to locally? Is anyone aware of that? We could put us in touch and we could do some work ourselves and see what the need is in Haverhill, because we're being guided by officers, but they, as you say earlier, they might not know what local people are actually wanting.
Very good point, Stuart. Councillor Burns?
Exactly. We have our own town council youth teams doing all kinds of things. They're the ones to talk to, and I'm sure Vicky or Colin will can put you in touch.
Thank you. That'd be helpful.
Yeah. What about the Croft? Because they've got loads of teams there. They must have some sort of offices and things like that. That clubs and there in the Croft. Does anyone know?
Well, of course they do, and also Haverhill Town down at Motts Field do as well. But that's most of it's football related. I think what we're looking for is, do we want football pitches, or, as Councillor Crook says, basketball? I don't know what other types of things there are.
You're right. The youth officers will know, because what about we have at the zone? Is that open yet after COVID? Where they?
That's what I'm saying. We've got a load of youth teams. That's why I said, let Colin or Vicky.
Yeah.
Put them in touch with those people.
Yeah. We do, as part of the Mugger proposal, that's a multi-use games area. That will probably include the facility for basketballs, as well as the Mugger is generally a fenced-in and enclosed area where you can use it for a multitude of different outdoor activities. So that is something that would probably come forward with a basketball hoop in it anyway, but certainly we'll look into that, make sure that we can provide something along these lines.
Tonight, haven't you?
Sorry?
You've got that area on the plans. I've seen them.
That will be on the infrastructure plans, I think, Scott, won't it?
Yeah, I think because I was conscious about the slope on there. I think it was shown. It's not on that.
I'm sure I saw it somewhere.
It's in a photo of a place on it.
I'm not sure then.
It might not have been in this presentation, but it might be in one of the other plans you've seen.
It's in the other plans that we got tonight.
I have drawn one on there to show the size of it, and because I was conscious about of levels, obviously it needs to be perfectly flat. I've done like a model to show how it would then fit in with the existing ground and what we'd need to do, just kind of to reassure everyone that it would work. So there definitely is one post to be on there.
Yeah, there is. Right. Okay. Is there any other questions at all? No, can't see any. Right. Thank you, Stuart. And,
I can give you a little bit of an I know I've taken up loads of your time, so has Scott tonight, but I like to give you just a little bit of an update on where we are with things generally anyway. So it'll only take another few minutes of your time if you don't mind.
That's all right.
A little bit of an update, the Relief Road, which I know many of you are very keen to see happening. We have now got the landscape proposals completed, and they're just being finalised with a view to submitting them now, so that we can hopefully get the conditions discharged on the Relief Road application. So hopefully things will start happening on the ground before too long. And John, I know you mentioned that at the committee last week, and it has been frustrating for us that things haven't happened as quickly as we would like to have seen them happen. But just to give us reassurance that we're doing everything we can at this end to move things forward quickly on that one. Update on where we are. Phase 2B, as you all know, went through last week. We're really appreciative of your comments, and we did change the plans significantly. We've dropped 6 units from phase 2B to drop down the units to 3-storey. Hopefully you're happy with the outcome of that one as we are. Sales phase 1 is all sold out, apart from the show home, which will remain there for quite some time yet to serve phases 2A and 2B. There's only 2 dwellings left now to sell on phase 2A. That's why we're desperate to get moving forward in phase 2B, because we've run out basically of houses to sell there. And the first completions of phase 2A will be at the end of this month, and that's the first 4 people will be moving into them. And we're aiming for all completions by the end of this year. And the next phases that will be coming forward, and I'll be happy to present them to you again when the time's right, are for phases 3B and phases 6, and following that will be 3A in the local centre, which is quite an exciting one, and will provide a hub at the centre of the development. So watch this space, and we'll hopefully have some further plans and further presentations to you before too long. And that's all I need to say.
Thank you very much, Stuart.
Okay.
It's really good. It's really good of you to come here and talk to the town council. We really appreciate it, and thank you, Scott, for presentation tonight. And we'll see you again soon.
Thanks very much for your time. And if there are any questions or someone would rather phone me or email me, please feel free to do that. You should have my contact details.
Yeah, it's up on the screen.
Okay.
Right. Okay. Thank you very much.
Thanks very much. Okay.
Thank
Bye.
you. Bye. Right, everyone. We're back to the agenda now, which is item 7, Katie Yates, Catesby Estates, to consider invitation from Catesby Estates to visit Alconbury Weald. Excuse me, I'm just going to put the line. Right, is there anyone? Vicky, do you want to, is there anything on this? Anyone want to speak?
I forwarded you the email, so you should have all the information.
Okay. Councillor Brown?
Yeah, I was going to say, we should say thank you very much, but no, we're not interested in any further large-scale development in Haverhill until we've got the infrastructure, the medical facilities, everything to support it. So, yeah, thank you very much, and say when we've got the rest of it, yeah, we'll think about it. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Burns?
Very quickly, support what Tony just said. And I think the other thing is to say is we're in the middle of our local plan at the moment, where we are considering all these developments, and it will go out for proper consultation in due course for people to comment on. I don't want anybody influencing us, if you like that. Thank you.
Good. Anyone else? No. Are we all in agreement with what Councillor Brown and Councillor Burns have said? Can I see nods? Yeah? Yeah? Right, okay. Councillor Stitchcombe, I can't see you. Yeah, thumbs up. Right, okay. Thank you very much for that. Got that, Vicky? Yeah? Thank you. Right, item 8. There's no members of the public. Vicky, is there at all? No. Item 9, which is to consider planning applications to West Suffolk Council. List B, which is, there's nothing on list A. List B, which is application 1, which is DC 21 1329 VAR, variations of conditions 2, approved plans in brackets, and 7 opening hours of DC 192470 FUL to allow use of amended plans and the extension of permitted opening hours 9 AM to 11:30 PM Monday to Thursday, from 9 a.m. to 12:30 a.m. Friday and Saturdays, and 9 a.m. to 11 p.m. Sundays and bank holidays, for the change of use from a job centre, Class E, small c, to fast food restaurant, sui generis. Right, Councillor Crooks. Oh, Vicky, sorry, Councillor Crooks. Go on, Vicky first, because it might be relevant.
This was deferred from the last meeting.
Right, okay. Right, Councillor Crooks.
Yes, we spent a lot of time on this last time. I propose neutral, Chair. Thank you.
Good. Councillor Burns and then Councillor Brown.
You're muted, Jim.
You're muted.
So I've got the fan running. That's why I was trying to keep it muted. Just to emphasise, this was purely to ensure that they didn't do a lot of work, particularly in terms of the ventilation side of things, that didn't meet planning, and then they'd have to go through the enforcement thing. So I'm pleased that they've done this. Just let you know.
Yeah. I've noticed they've got a noise reduction system on that as well.
Yeah.
I noticed.
Yeah.
Which is good. Councillor Brown?
Yeah, just like to second Councillor Cook's proposal.
Right, thank you. Any other person want to speak? No? Right. So let's propose Councillor Crooks and second Councillor Brown that we be neutral. All those in favour, please show. Okay. Yeah, everyone. Thank you. Right, application 2, which is DC 21 1415 TPO. This is a TPO 002 in brackets 2021 tree protection order, small a 1 sycamore, T1 on plan and order, crown reduction by 2.5 metres. B, small b, 1 sycamore T2 on plan within G1 on order, remove 3 lowest limbs on western aspect. Small c, 1 beech, T3 on plan within G1 on order, lateral reduction of lowest limbs by 2 metres and reduce height by 2 metres. Small d, 1 beech, T4 on plan with G1 on order, lateral reduction on lowest limbs by 2 metres. Small e, 1 beech, T5 on plan with G1 on order, 2 metre reduction in height to previous points and reduction of remaining crown by 1 metre. And this is Chantry Mills High Street. Right, is there any comments on this at all? No? Can I have a proposer and a seconder for neutral, please? Proposer, Councillor Davison. No, the seconder. Councillor Stitchcombe. All those in favour of neutral, please show. I can't see my hand. There it is. Right, everyone, thank you. Application 3, which is DC 21 0792 FUL. 4 flats following demolition of industrial building as amended by plans received 19th of the 7th of 21. And this is station plot 1, SR Builders Station Yard. Anyone want to speak on this? Councillor Smith and then Councillor Lucrini.
Well, it's a vast improvement on what was proposed before. It's going on the drawings, it looks a bit more in keeping with what's currently there. But I know there was an issue around the a wall from the original pub being retained, and I don't think that's in the plans there. It still seems like they're squeezing a lot on one small site, though.
Thank you for that, Councillor Lucrini. You're muted. Oh, you're right now. Yeah, you're fine.
Much better than the than the original plans. It is still the lack of parking for me.
Thank you. Yeah, I've noticed, I've done a bit of measuring this time. I haven't got Councillor Stickson to help me, but I've noticed that the two bedrooms are 2.2 meters by 3 meters, which is below the standards, just below, and the that's the 1 bedroom. Sorry, not the 1 bedrooms is 2 by 3, which is quite a bit below the standards, the size standards, which is 2 meters by 3 meters. You think 2 meters is not very big. And the 2 bedroom ones are 4 by 4, which is just below. It's not very much, but just below the size standards for a 2 bedroom. Also, there's 6 parking spaces still needed, which the highways said that was needed. That they objected to just having, was it 2 or 3 spaces, wasn't it? So there's still too many parking spaces, and we've got to realise that they are individual rooms, because they've all got sitting rooms there. So obviously they're all going to be done by all different people. They're all going to be being there, but they're not. It's not going to be a family house, for instance. So we've got to bear that in mind. Okay, Councillor Kearney.
Yeah, the original application didn't show any parking spaces. It shows an area with rising bollards, but as highways have commented, they're not sure whether that's for parking or just the front of the property. And also to come back to Dave Smith, on the front elevation, you can see now they've kept the pillar that we wanted retained.
Good, brilliant. Yeah, I've noticed the letter from the neighbour saying it's already hard to park there because of people parking in that particular area, which if you walk past there, you see loads of cars there. I must admit, how they do get into their area to park, I don't know. But there is a problem with parking in that area. So, we've got to bear that in mind. Vicky?
Can you just excuse me for a moment?
Yeah.
I just need to pop out for one minute. I'm so sorry. My daughter's in hospital at the moment, so I just need to take this call.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. Yeah, okay, we'll stop.
Thank you. No, you carry on, I'll catch up.
Okay.
Carry on, I'll catch up with it.
Right. Is there any more? Hello, Colin, you've come in?
Yeah, I'll clerk for the next couple of minutes.
Okay. Right. Is there anyone else want to speak on this at all? Councillor Crooks? Then Councillor Brown?
Yeah, it's all been said really. This is a vast improvement on what was before. It looks a lot better, and they're keeping the pillar with the 1865 date on it, I believe it is, Prince of Wales. So I don't think it's quite there. So I'm happy to carry on with objections on the parking, etc. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Councillor Brown.
Thanks, Chair. Yeah, I'd agree with what most of what other people have said. The only thing I've got a little bit of an issue is the parking. Is that when Haverhill built the development down in Lower Down Slead, there's no parking associated with that. This is relatively near to the town centre. I mean, is it a deal breaker for it not to have the required amount of parking spaces there? It's in walking distance of most things. So
yeah, you are right. It's just that I feel sorry for the particular neighbour if they are going to have cars, which I fully suspect they are going to have cars. That's just going to make it really hard for the neighbour to get into his particular place, because the neighbour that's saying he lives right at the end. In other words, he's the furthest away from the particular road where they go in and out. So that's the big problem, I feel. Councillor Kenny and then Councillor Burns.
It's a fair point that it's close to things in the town centre. As we know, we are a commuter town for mainly Cambridge. there's a strong likelihood that the people living there are going to have cars. It's quite a distance to any of the long stay car parks. They can't park in the Tesco car park, and they can't park in the Pytal car park. And the road leading up to it has parking restrictions on it, so not ideal.
Good point. Councillor Burns?
Yeah, just to emphasise that, remember there is actually a TRO on that station road as well as the Pytal. The fact that our CPA officers failed to do it because there's actually no double the lines around there. So even the people who are parking there at the moment are doing so illegally. I think everything's been said about the thing. Councillor Crooks was quite right about the 18, whether it is 60 something thing. But we know, if it did get approval, that needs to be made sure that it doesn't get knocked down. We know from experience that's exactly what happened with Lower Down Slade. The 180-year-old brick wall that was there for the old infirmary, which were promised we were going to be hand knocked down, and the bricks used to repair things like sternum arches, was just knocked down and used as the hardcore for the site. So be careful about that. Parking, as Councillor Brown says about Lower Down Slade, but you've got to remember Lower Down Slade was specifically for over 55s, and in fact actually took all the people who lived there actually came down from Westbourne Court, the elderly from there. And also at the time, it was agreed that Havebury would buy season tickets for the car park. But of course, the car park is short stay anyway, so you can't stay there for more than 3 hours. So you can stay overnight, of course.
Right. Where are we going? We're going to say about I'd like the room sizes to be, because I still feel the one bedroom especially are tiny, too small. They're just trying to cram too many rooms in again, as usual, even though they've reduced it from last time. Councillor Smith?
I'll propose we reject then on grounds of parking and space standards.
Right, okay. Can we have a seconder for that, please? Councillor Lucrini? All those in favour, please show. Yeah, everyone, thank you very much. Next one is application 5. Is it? No, it's not. It's application 4, sorry, DC 21 1436 FUL, small a 2 dwellings, small b vehicular access, small c car parking and bike storage. And this is land at Rosebank, Burton End, Haverhill, Suffolk. Is there any comments on this at all? No? Councillor Crooks and then Councillor Smith.
I believe this does actually work. It does actually work. I love the Havebury building next door to where this is going. I've always admired the Havebury building on York Road, but putting these to the left of that, I do actually think it works. I don't know what Councillor Smith thinks, but yeah, I'm leaning that way. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Smith.
Again, it's the size, isn't it? I mean, I was having a look at this last night, and I was trying to work out, can you really get a double bed in some of these rooms? If it's 11 meters long, and trying to use that as a gauge, then the double beds they're putting in there are about 4 foot wide. I think 1 would be fine, but to squeeze 2 onto that plot, I think is asking a bit much.
Yeah, I've wrote in my notes here. It's 2 5-person, 3-bedroom houses. There's 5 people that I hope to have in each house. 5 people in each house. So that's quite, and there's 4 parking spaces. So All right, it's supposed to be 2.5, isn't it? 2.5. So they need one extra space, but I don't know. It's I want to hear what the committee says on this. Councillor Burns.
It should be the 3-bedroom is 2 parking spaces, not 2.5.
Oh right.
But the parking spaces themselves, I believe, might be below minimum space requirements from highways. So that's something to look at. But it's also worthwhile thinking about York Road. I don't go there very often, but I occasionally do. Is what the comment from the person at Welham Close, I think is mentioned. I think it was Welham Close.
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
Welham Close. Yeah, where they're not actually talking about the building, but actually the ability to get there and park there and all this sort of stuff, and the dust carts to get there. So I think that's, if you're going to make any comments at all, I would probably look at that one. Thank you.
Yeah, he did mention about parking issues, didn't he? Right. Is there anybody else want to comment at all? Councillor Crooks?
With bedroom space standards, as sometimes comes up with development control, they like to have national space standards for affordable housing, but market housing, developers aren't so worried because you've got the choice. You're buying the property. It's up to you if you buy it or not. And obviously, a lot of people buy properties, 3-bedroom properties, and they'll only use 1 bedroom. Just because you're buying a property doesn't mean you're going to have someone in every bedroom. So space standards is a funny business when it comes to market properties. Thank you, Chair.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, okay. Right. How do we feel on this? Have we got any proposals on this one? Councillor Brown?
Propose neutral, Chair.
Councillor Crooks?
Would like to second that. Thank you.
Right, okay, we've got a proposal by Councillor Brown and seconded by Councillor Crooks that we're neutral on this one. All those in favour, please show. Is there any against? Right, it's carried. Thank you. Application 5 now, which is DC 21 1418 LB. Small A, repair works to external walls. Small B, repair damaged chimney stack. Small C, 2 replacement windows. Small D, repairs to window sills. Small E, protect brick face with natural materials render. And this is 117 Burton End. Councillor Burns, then Councillor Smith.
Just very quickly, I'm not commenting on the actual application because I've just realised the owner, probably totally non-pecuniary, but he is the cousin of my ex-wife. But as we've been divorced for 30 years, I'm sure it doesn't really matter. But I just thought I'd mention it just in case.
Okay. Right. Councillor Smith.
I think what they're trying to do is sympathetic to the original building. I think the only issue for me is I don't know what this natural material render they're proposing actually looks like. So I don't know if that is going to look natural or just completely out of place. Yeah, but what they're trying to do is try and put it back to how it was, taking out modern windows, which are totally out of keeping. Keeping all the flint work around the sides. It's just the painted brickwork that they're looking to cover, basically. I don't know, can't really picture what it looks like.
Councillor Crooks and then Councillor Brown.
Yeah, it looks like they're keeping away from the old part of the building, the 1840 part of the building, and it's the Victorian 1900 that they want to cover with a cladding and a lime wash on top of the cladding. So because he's raised so much damp issues that he said he's got, I'm neutral myself because of the issues he's got with damp.
Thank you very much. Councillor Brown?
Yeah, I would support that. It's the 1900th part of the building that's got the issues that needs to be remedied. It's damp getting in there. It's just a 9-inch brickwork. There's no insulation or anything like that. I've got sympathy with them, and I propose neutral.
Okay. Can we have is there any more want to speak on that? No? Councillor Smith?
Sorry, can I just ask, so what you're saying is because it's Victorian rather than a bit older, it's not worth keeping in its original condition? Sorry.
No,
I wasn't following the argument there, sorry.
Yeah, sorry.
I
maybe didn't put it over, probably. The Flint part of the building is the original Flint cottage. That's the older part. The bit next to it is listed only because it's attached to the old Flint cottage. If that Flint cottage wasn't there, that brick building wouldn't be listed. It is attached to it, so it is listed, but they've got an issue with damp coming in. They've got a solid brick wall there, just 9-inch brickwork. It's got no insulation or anything like that in there. And they've got a damp issue. So the building is getting affected by damp. And once you start getting damp into the brickwork anyway, what's going to happen? As soon as you get a decent frost, it's going to start blowing the bricks out and causing a lot of structural damage to the building anyway. So what they're trying to do is actually protect the brickwork and make it a little bit more insulated, which is obviously better for the environment. So and it looks like they're being very careful about what they're doing. They're putting older type sash windows back in, which are an improvement. They're obviously spending quite a lot of money to do this, and I'd propose neutral. Really, that's all I'm saying.
Thank you for that. Okay, right, we have a proposal for neutral. Councillor Brown, have we a seconder? Councillor Davison? All those in favour, please show. Okay, hand keeps disappearing. Right, which is the next one is application 6, which is DC 21-1452. RM, Reserved Matters Application. Pursuant to Hybrid Planning Permission, SE 09-1283, for sports pitches together with associated open space. This we've just gone through this, haven't we? Means of enclosure, play equipment, changing room facilities and areas for car parking and cycle parking. Discharge of condition B9 and B10 of outline plan permission in regards to vehicle movements, parking and highway details. Persimmon Homes, land northwest of Haverhill and Suckling Lane. Right, Vicky's already got sort of comments on this. Do we object or what? What does the committee feel on this? Councillor Stixcombe?
Thank you, Chair. I've got a minor point that I didn't mention while Stuart was with us, that there doesn't seem, unless put me right if I'm wrong here, but there doesn't seem to be any national standard for a NEEP. I can see that it's in various local plans and various manufacturers have got some concept of what a NEEP is, but it was never defined anywhere, in legislation or Ministry of Housing code or anything like that. But I keep seeing, whether it's Ipswich or some other county, I keep seeing reference to secure cycle parking adjacent, which seems like a good idea to me, but it wasn't on Stuart's plan just now. The 3 benches and some play equipment, but nowhere to lock, you want sort of something to lock your bike to potentially so that you can turn your back on it and not worry about it. I'm not sure it would be used, but it just seems like a good thing to have. Thank you.
Have you got that, Colin? Yeah, all right. Anyone else wants to say anything on this? No? Can I have are we objecting then? Because Vicky's got a few things that we spoke about on this particular one. Councillor Brown?
Yeah, I think we need to object, otherwise they won't take notice of the points that we've made. So, yeah, I think we need to object.
Okay, is that a proposal?
Yeah.
Okay, can I have a seconder for that, please? Councillor Sitchcombe, all those in favour, please show. Yeah, that's everyone. Thank you very much. Application 7, which is DC 21-1406 HH, single story rear extension following demolition of existing conservatory. This is 6 Howell Road. Is there any comments on this one at all? No? Can I take that as a neutral then? Can I have is that a proposal, Councillor Smith? Yeah. Seconded by Councillor Davison. All those in favour, please show. Yeah, that's everyone. Thank you. Application 8, which is Persimmon 1 again, which is DC 20-0614 RM. Application for reserved matters pursuant to hybrid planning permission SE 09-1283 for infrastructure comprising of internal estate roads, drainage, POS, landscaping and allotment for land at Northwest Haverhill. Revised plans and documents which seek to address the concerns previously raised by the planning officer and consultees, which really they need to come and see us, and I agree with Councillor Burns on that. The changes are discussed in the revised design and access compliance statement revision on July 2021 and include changes to the extent of the red line revised road design and layout, inclusion of traffic calming measures and pedestrian crossing points, revised soft landscaping proposals and public open space, additional information in relation to play areas, removal of sports pitches. These are being progressed in separate application. I don't understand that last bit. Removal of sports pitches.
That's the bit which is done.
Councillor Brown, you're muted.
Yeah, thanks, Chair. Stuart and the Persimmon people come, to brief us quite regularly and take on board a lot of what we say, etc., etc. Very hands-on, which is very much appreciated. Whereas, the planning officers, Henhaver and etc., Penny, why can't they come along to one of our planning meetings and gauge, what we would like to see on it on these applications? And very rarely do. It'd be great to have some proper discussion with them. Stuart and the other people come along. I mean, it's not as if we're actually having physical meetings, we're only having Zoom meetings. It'd be good if one of the officers could actually come along and listen to what we've got to say. Yeah,
I entirely agree with that. Very good point. Councillor Burns?
Got a feeling there's either illegal or some reason why they're not allowed to do that, because they should not be influenced by what's being said at the meeting. You should get the comments. But what I was going to say was just that last bit you were talking about there, Chair. That is because they split the sports pitches application out from the original infrastructure one.
Right. Right. Okay. Thanks for that. Right. We obviously got notes on that particular one, which Vicky will have to sort of separate with the two. Do we object on them grounds as well, the notes that was taken? Councillor Brown?
Yeah, I think we need to. And I'd like to propose that we do.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Can I have a seconder for that, please? Councillor Smith. Okay. Thank you for that. All those in favour, please show. Yep, it's everyone. Oh, all those against? Right, that's carried. Application 9, which is DC 21 1501 TPO. This is a TPO 8084 brackets 1982 tree preservation order. Small A 1 Simpress, is it? Lawson. C1 on plan, T7 on order. Remove split hanging limbs, overhanging driveway, and reduce height by 2 meters. Small B, 1 ash, A1 on plan and T9 on order. Overall crown reduction by 2 meters. And this is 20 Ratton Road. All right, any comments at all? No? Okay, can I have a proposer for neutral, please? Councillor Davison, can I have a seconder for that, please? Councillor Brown? Right. All those in favour, please show for neutral. Okay. Everyone, thank you very much. Right, that's the last of the planning applications. Back to the agenda, which is item 10, which is matters to report. Is there any matters to report, anyone? Councillor Burns?
Yeah, just very quick, it's not really a planning thing, but it's worthwhile mentioning it here. You may have noticed there's an increase in graffiti around town with specific so-called tags, which I've taken photographs of. The police are aware of them. They are trying to find out who it is. It's obviously the same person, but they've desecrated, well, maybe that's not so important, the hoarding on the Vixen site, but they've also done it to the defibrillator outside Chippy's, and they've also done the board for Mottsfield as well, all over that. And I'm sure there's other areas around town. So if you do see any around town, please take a photograph of it, send it to us, and I'll add it to the list that the police are looking at. Obviously, at some point, we'll have to try and clean it off. One is, well, both of them are West Suffolk, really, because on their land. So, but just to let you know, we believe it's supposed to be a quote on Facebook, a 12-year-old doing it, but I'm not so certain that's the case. I have asked the police to get hold of the Strasbourg Square camera footage. I've given them a time exactly when it happened. But whether or not the camera was pointing in the right direction at the right time, who knows? Thank you.
Thank you very much for that. Thank you. Is there any other matters to report? No? Councillor Smith?
I don't know how many of you are aware of it, but the High Point Prison are looking to expand their site. So I think that'll have an effect on the town going forward. I'm not sure if the plans are already in at the moment. They're looking to expand the south side, which is on the right hand side as you're going towards Bury. I think it's something like doubling the size of the prison. So be interesting.
Wow. Okay, Councillor Crooks.
Just going back to Dave, so that would be inside their fence then, would it? Because the airfield is now a solar farm. So they're expanding within their fence? Is that what you're saying?
I don't know plans. All I've been told is by somebody that works there, should we say, that these plans are going forward. I haven't got any details, so no doubt it will be on the planning site, the planning website soon. But yeah, but I probably have to ask you to look at it yourself.
Okay, thanks for that. Councillor Brown.
Do the prison service actually need planning permission? Sometimes they get Crown immunity, don't they? So.
Good point.
So you're probably right, but it's still something that I'm sure we could comment on, being a neighbouring authority.
Yeah, a consultee, as they call it. Yeah. Yeah. I don't know if we will, or whether it just be West Suffolk out the comment. I don't know. I've no idea on that one. Right. Thank you very much, everyone. The next meeting is in September, which is September the 7th. Thank you, everyone. Colin, can you stop the live